continue. Hare Krishna. Welcome. We have Vijay Krishna just coming in. Hare Krishna. Just wait till he gets in. And looks like something might have happened. He came in and went out. Okay, I'm sure he'll try again. If he just knocks on the door again, I can let him in. Okay, admit. Jai Vaid. Oh, perhaps you are in, but I can't see everyone here. Oh, yeah, I just have to scroll down. Okay, Hare Krishna. So we have a forum. We have some devotees here. Great, we can start. So welcome again. This is part 18. So we're doing quite well. Last week we only covered 3 or 4 slides, so I won't do too much of a recap, but I can't help resist do a little recap. So we're speaking about the qualities of pure devotional service according to Rupa Goswami's 3 definitions of devotional service in Vaidhi, Bhava, and Prema. And hopefully you can remember some of this discussion. 2 qualities that manifest when one's devotional service is more steady. And then at the stage of Bhava, we have these 2 characteristics of pure devotional service: minimizes the value of liberation, and Suddha. It's rarely achieved. It's not something you can buy from a supermarket. Okay? Bhava or love of Krishna is not available in your local store. Okay? We wish it was. Unless you come to the temple, it's available there. Yeah, or you create your home becomes a temple. And then the 2 symptoms at the stage of prema puts one in transcendental pleasure. Now, all of these are invested with a pleasure, but especially at the stage of pure devotion, it's a pleasure that we cannot even imagine. Just as like in the spiritual world, there's colors that you don't even know existed. Yeah, so the level of happiness that's perceived in the waves of pure devotion is very much inconceivable for us to actually fully comprehend. And then Krishna, Sri Krishna Kashini, still devotees coming in, so don't mind me just hesitating, letting them in. Great, we've got someone with the camera on. London College of Vedic Studies, Mr. Alexander. Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Others, if you like, you can put the camera on. If it's really difficult, if it's really not possible, it's okay. But it's good if I can see someone, I can see some of you reacting to what I say or don't say. Okay. So then last week we finished on this slide here in regards to Sri Krishna Kashini. The only means to attract Krishna is prema. Now, often we think of Radharani is given as an obvious example, but in the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami gives the example of the Pandavas who actually lived with the Pandavas, became their messenger, became their well-wisher, and became in some aspects their servant, especially at the Rajasuya Yagna. So that's the degree of the Pandavas' love for Krishna, that Krishna couldn't resist it. He was bound by their love. Yeah? So, so that was last week. Okay. Again, any questions, please feel free to ask. Or any reflections, please feel free. Hare Krishna. All right, so that was the characteristics of pure devotional service that we covered last week. So now Maharaj is now defining devotional service in practice. You remember there's devotional service in practice, devotional service in bhava, and devotional service in prema. So now we need to be really clear on the definition of devotional service in practice, because that's what we are doing. We are practicing devotional service. So are we doing the right thing? Have we got the right idea? What is it exactly? So now the activities of devotional service, actually they're all part of the Lord's internal energy. Yeah, he's Surup Shakti. They're not actually part of the material world. So, for instance, chanting Krishna's name, smaran of his pastimes, remembering his pastimes, they're all actually not of this material world. Yeah, actually, that's what is going on in the spiritual world. And that's what the eternally liberated associates are constantly doing. And they're doing it spontaneously out of a natural attraction. Now, whether they are in the spiritual world or even if they descend to the material world to propagate devotional service, and that's why and only why they may descend, then that's what they do. That's what liberated souls do. They're constantly engaged in remembering Krishna, serving Krishna, etc. Yeah. Now, we could say Maharaj uses the word propagating when we're preaching Krishna consciousness. We we want ourselves and we want people to adopt the principles of pure devotion and thus qualify themselves for going back to Godhead. Now, now, devotional service in practice then is when conditioned souls like ourselves, we take up the practice of deliberated souls, of hearing and chanting about Krishna. But we're doing it with our materially molded senses, mind, and intelligence. So, and that's called sadhana bhakti. You follow? So we do the activities of the eternally liberated souls, but with our materially molded senses, mind, and intelligence. And the impetus is a little bit different. And we'll describe about that. Yeah. Okay, we're all with us so far? Yeah, so it's a definition of devotion service. In practice means we're practicing, we're like what is it called? We're like apprentices because the liberated souls, they're all day, they're hearing and chanting about Krishna. So we're told to rise early in the morning and chant about Krishna. Why? Because that's what the liberated souls do. But we're doing it in not a completely purified state. But by doing it, then we will become purified. But that's called devotional service in practice. Yeah. Um, Now, this pure devotion in a practice, it's different. It's not. It's different than the same activity that's done for wanton or for sense enjoyment or liberation. You follow that? Do you remember we were speaking about the semblance of devotion, where persons do activities of bhakti not for obtaining Krishna, but really their main motive is some type of sense enjoyment or moksha. Do you remember that was all the study of the semblance of devotion? Now, that cannot be called specifically sadhana bhakti. Yeah, cannot be called sadhana bhakti. Or and those who are practicing a semblance of devotion, they cannot actually be called sadhakas. A sadhaka is someone who is on a path of pure devotion. Okay. Um, so here, let me just read this here. Only when living entities abandon selfish interests and develop pure faith in devotional service can they be said to be true sadhakas. All right, so this is a side point. Yeah. So can anyone say what we mentioned it earlier on, a good few classes ago, perhaps session number 4 or 5? Anyone say what is a definition of pure faith that's given
I
from
think I can.
Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Um, Pure faith is, I know Prabhupada would said about pure faith that um, I forgot that word. Um,
Shraddha?
sorry?
Shraddha means
No,
faith.
no, no. Uh, s- uh, Something with the trust in the divine truth.
Yeah, more or less correct. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is from, I just read a verse from Majjhima Lila, which describes what is pure faith. So this Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. And then Prabhupada writes further, a person who has this quality of faith thinks pouring water on the root of a tree automatically satisfies the trunk, branches, and twigs. Yeah. Nishtanena yata mudonena nishtanena. Supplying food, just as supplying food to the stomach nourishes the life airs and satisfies the senses, in the same way, worshipping and serving Krishna will automatically satisfy all the demigods and fulfill my desires. So, in other words, as thing what Alexander was hinting at, that it's a mood of exclusive dedication and complete dependence upon Krishna. So that's a characteristic of pure faith. Yeah. So someone who is practicing devotional service, they are called a sadhaka. Yeah. So here is a verse from which is on the slide, which is from the Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu. Srila Prabhupada, as you know, he gave a summary study of this book. So he doesn't actually give the exact verses, but he just writes about the principles. But this is the actual verse which is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I've had this verse on my wall for about 3 years. It's right here, and that's why. Yeah, Kriti Satya, Pavit Satya, Pavasa Sadinadiba, Nitya Shabhavasha, Prakritim Bhritito, excuse me, Prakritim Bhritito Satyati. All right, so this is a definition that we're going to go through that Rupa Goswami gives of devotional service in practice. Okay, so if you look, the first sentence, this is Srila Prabhupada's translation. It makes it distinguishes two types of pure devotion. Yeah. So when transcendental devotional service by which love for Krishna is attained. So that's the sadhya. So that's what we're aiming for. Yeah, sadhya. So that's devotional service in perfection. And transcendental, the next sentence, I just highlight it here. Um, Here, I'll highlight in this section here. When it's here, so when it's executed by the senses, in other words, sadhana bhakti, that's devotion in practice. So we have the sadhana and the sadhya. So the sadhana is executing, engaging our senses in the devotional service of the Lord. As we mentioned earlier, that's what liberated souls are doing, but we are doing it perhaps with a different motive to actually get purified rather than perhaps we might not be naturally attracted as yet. So that's what's known as devotional service in practice. Okay. So, and then we have this part here. Okay, everyone with me? Alexander's nodding his head. Everyone else? Anyone else? I can't see anyone else. I see Alexander, but I guess. Okay. So, so now this sentence here, such devotion eternally exists in the heart of every living entity. Yeah. So, so it's dormant within the heart. So it's inherent within every jiva. It just comes with the package of being a jiva, which is a good thing. It just comes. It's inherent within every jiva, even the most, you could say, the most demonic are most degraded people. They have love of Krishna, yeah, inherent as a jiva. No? So so how does it become manifest? By sadhana bhakti. That's how that eternally inherent loving devotion by Krishna becomes manifest. And that's through sadhana bhakti. So that's devotional service in practice. Yeah. So, in other words, there's a sequence. So, devotional activities performed by the senses that awaken ecstasy, which is bhava, and then continues, and then eventually awakens prema. Yeah. Right. So, this phrase, transcendental devotional service executed by the senses. So, let me just look here. Now, Marge brings out here that the activity he describes as the central activities of bhava and sadhana are the same, but there's a difference in the consciousness that underlines them. You follow? It's the same activities, hearing and chanting about Krishna and serving Krishnas and serving Krishna, excuse me. It's the same, but there's a difference in the consciousness with someone who is at the stage of bhava than someone who's at the stage of practice. Yeah. So we practice in order to awaken love. But those same practices are that the advanced souls do at Baba are a symptom of their love. You follow? So we do it to evoke that love. They, the advanced devotees, that's a symptom of their love. The symptoms of loving ecstasy. Now, for example, Marge gives an example here. So, we practice. For instance, we take up chanting Hare Krishna. I think we might have mentioned this before. So, why do we chant Hare Krishna? Why do we chant 16 rounds? Perhaps I'll ask that as a question. See what answers we get. So, why do we chant 16 rounds?
To connect with Krishna, to have a relationship with him,
Yeah. And anybody else?
and to awaken that dormant love.
Yeah, but why do we do it?
Because we were told to do it.
Yeah, welcome back, Mother Chandravali. I think she's heard me give this line of reason before. Yeah, because we're told to do it. When we take initiation, we promise. I promise to chant 16 rounds every day. That's called sadhana bhakti. And we've got our beads and we chant and we pour one bead down. We're counting. Now, we're not going to not chant 16. It depends. Some of you might not be chanting 16 rounds yet. Some of you might be. Like, just say if you're chanting 16 rounds every day. We want to chant 16 rounds. Why?
To purify ourselves, to
Purify ourselves.
Because Prabhupada said to chant 16 rounds.
Yeah, because we promised the Guru to chant 16 rounds.
Minimum.
That's called sadhana, Now, there's another thing, just as a side point here. For many years, well, if you ever noticed that on every counter beads, you get 20 beads, isn't it? You get 20 beads. You get 16, then you get 4. Now, I always thought that those 4 extra beads, they were to help you tie your counter beads on the bead bag. Yeah, that's what I thought. Or I thought if one of the 16 beads broke, then you have 4 spare ones. But actually, those 4 beads are for chanting 16 rounds 4 times. That's why every counter bead, no matter where you I've never seen any counter beads with less than 20 beads. It's just not 21, not 17, not 16. It's got 16, then you got, so when so the more we get a taste for chanting, and we go over the boundary of doing more than what we've been told to do because we have a natural attraction for it. That's a good sign, So you might chant 16, then you move one down, chant another 16, like that. Of course, minimum we chant is 16. So yeah, and one time when I was giving class, and he on Brihat Bhagavat Maharaj, and he was given a class on what is sadhana, and he held up his beads like this, said, "This is sadhana," and he pulled one bead down. It's quite powerful, but you get the idea. So devotional service in practice then is we make a systematic effort, as Alexander correctly said, to chant Hare Krishna, to become purified, and to rise to the spiritual platform. Yeah. Now, when one does become purified and does reach the spiritual platform, the holy name dances spontaneously on the tongue. Yeah? And there's wonderful verses that describe that. Yeah. So, in other words, although chanting in sadhana and chanting at bhava, they appear the same externally. Marge mentions, in fact, they are the means and the end, respectively. So let's just go over this verse again. This is Rupa Goswami's definition of devotional service in practice. Kriti satya bhavet satya bhava sadhinadiba. When transcendental devotional service by which love for Krishna is attained is executed by the senses, it is called sadhana bhakti, or the regular discharge of devotional service. Such devotion eternally exists within the heart of every living entity. The awakening of this eternal devotion is the potentiality of devotional service in practice. So that's the potentiality of the practice which we are doing. They can invoke love, also known as bhava. Yeah. And Srila Prabhupada mentions here, perhaps, could we have someone could read this verse for us? Yeah.
I'll read.
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
This love naturally awakens. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of the living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrut, Madhya Leela, 22:107.
Yeah, thank you. Srila Prabhupada in the Nectar Devotion, he gives this example of a young child learning to walk. Now, the ability to walk is inherent in a child. The parents create the situation or the atmosphere or encourage the child to walk because it's there within the child. If it wasn't inherent, then no matter how much practice, then the child wouldn't be able to walk. For example, if you try and teach a dog to walk on its two hind legs, good luck. It is not inherent within the dog or the cat. So no matter how much practice, you'll not bring that out. Yeah. So similarly, love for Krishna is there already dormant in the heart. Now, so awakening this love of God, it requires Krishna's mercy to argument or to even the sincerest effort that we make. Ultimately, we're dependent upon Krishna's mercy. I will explain that more here. So the question which Maharaj then discusses is divine grace and sadhana. You follow me so far, everyone? Well, I've got some more cameras on. We've got 3 cameras on now. Hare Krishna. I can see. Yeah. So the way that divine grace combines with sadhana. Yeah. So here's an example to help explain that. So if you picture love of Godhead, it's like a wonderful, fragrant flower. Yeah. And the fragrance is intense attachment to Krishna, a Shakti. That's a definition you could describe love of God. It's like a beautiful flower, the scent of which Krishna cannot resist. And one has this really deep attachment to Krishna. Now, when the jiva turns away from Krishna, bahimukha, bahi means away, external, and face. So when the jiva turns away from Krishna, that flower goes into a seed, which is then covered by activities that are adverse to our natural position as a jiva. Yeah. This is mentioned in the Prema Vivata by Jagannatha Pandit. Yeah. Yeah. Forget them. Yeah, the Prema Vivata. So then devotional service in practice, it gradually prepares and waters that seed. Prepares and waters it. Now it sprouts when it's touched by the grace. It sprouts when it's touched by the grace of, when it's touched by the sunlight of Krishna's grace. So that sunlight is known as Suddha Sattva, and it infuses the jiva with love of Krishna. Now that love or that bhava, that is Krishna's Samvit Shakti and Haladini Shakti. That's touching the jiva. So then this love sprouts. Okay? So the cognitive potency and the Haladini Shakti. All right, we'll describe that, try and help you. Like when devotee is in ecstasy, they're in ecstasy for a reason. They've been blessed with the cognitive potency of, for example, how beautiful Krishna is, or how compassionate he is, or how benevolent he is. So that's the cognitive potency, Samvit Shakti. And from that comes the natural ecstasy from realizing aspects of Krishna's beauty, form, quality, or pastimes, or just his benevolence. Then that's the Haladini Shakti, the actual pleasures. So you understand? So if you're feeling ecstatic, okay, even at the stage of sadhana, we can feel ecstatic. We're feeling ecstatic for a reason. There's something which has been revealed to us about Krishna's beauty or Krishna's pastime. So you feel ecstatic. So that's the cognitive potency and the Samvit Shakti. Now we just get little glimpses of it. That's the whole discussion as well. We may get glimpses of this by the grace of the potency of devotional service, even though we may not be on the platform of bhava. So Krishna gives us encouragement. So this, but when it does manifest at bhava, then it empowers one to know how to please the Lord. Yeah, so that sprout manifests the bud of love. So this is the way that bhava manifests, Maharaj is explaining. Yeah. So then the example is given, just to summarize, just like fire is latent in firewood. That's something I found it interesting. Srila Prabhupada often speaks about that, and I never thought of it before, where there's actually fire in wood. It soaks up the energy of the sun, and therefore there's fire there. Now, when the wood is in the right condition, when it's prepared and dried, then when it's touched by fire, then it bursts into flames. So devotional service is the same. If we're practicing very sincerely the principles of bhakti, when we come in touch with the angas of bhakti, very quickly we can experience a love of God. But to that degree we're not practicing, then we're like a damp piece of wood where there's just smoke coming. So perhaps we're like damp pieces of wood and we're trying to dry out. We're trying to dry ourselves out. You could say that, isn't it? Like when we take up some extra chanting or we take up some devotional practices. You could say, we're desperately trying to dry out the wood so we can catch on fire. So we may, Chandravali just come back from Vrindavan, devotees go there for Kartik. So everyone's trying to dry out the wood so that when we hear Govindam Hari Purusham, we can be in ecstasy. So in this way, so devotional service and practice, it prepares and purifies the heart so that we can, so that Krishna's internal potency, the Sup Shakti, can arouse the dormant love which is lying there. So that's what is meant by Rupa Goswami when he says that this Kuti Satya Bhavat Satya Bhava Sa Sadinadiba. So this is a sense that devotional service has the potential for awakening ecstatic emotion. You follow? So this is, any questions, please feel free to ask. Now,
Can I add a comment?
yeah, comment.
I thought about this, the dormant love that is within us, just like you gave an example with the child. And I thought, for example, a bird has the potential to fly, but if we try to fly, we won't be able to do it.
No.
And so similarly, the pure love of Godhead is there. It's just they have to be awakened, and through bhakti we can awaken that. And the second, I thought about these four types of realization. That from name comes form, and then from form comes the characteristics. So I thought of it can be applied to anything, to any objects, such as a pen. A pen, if you think of the word pen, immediately you start to discover the shape, the form of the pen. And then the characteristic of the pen, it can be sharp, it's blue, or it can bright. And so it could, with any other object, you can actually know the form of the object if you know the name of it. Like if you think of a ball, immediately the shape of a ball comes in your mind.
Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, so practically it kind of name, form, qualities, and pastimes. I don't know what the pastimes of a pen is. Yes, it writes. Yes, it writes in a specific style. Yeah, and just to the first point you made as well, that was why Prabhupada was, well, already he had great faith in this principle, but especially when he came to the West and he gave sadhana to persons, low-born persons, malechas and javanas who were not following any principles. He gave them the practice of sadhana and they became ecstatic. They became ecstatic devotees of Krishna. And one time there was one priest where he was made a comment about how this Swamiji, these are our children. And we did everything. We took them to the synagogue, we took them to the church, but none of them took up religious practice. But now this Swamiji has made them mad for Krishna, has actually made them mad for God. Not mad in a derogative way, but very enthusiastic. Yeah, so it proves the point. You don't have to be a Brahmin, you don't have to be born in India. Just have to take up the activities of sadhana bhakti, and you can become ecstatic. So yeah, Prabhupada was very, not proud is the wrong word, but Prabhupada would point that out. Just see, here's these Westerners. Yeah. Yeah, and Marge makes a note here. Yeah, this important point. Marge, yes, the practice of Krishna consciousness, but it has to be this sadhana has to be practiced with ever increasing enthusiasm. Yeah, normally we're like that. Normally we may see it in the beginning, but the idea is we should be becoming more and more enthusiastic. Now, how we express that enthusiasm may be different according to our age, according to our situation, but we want to be experiencing ever increasing enthusiasm for devotional service. So Maharaj mentions that stayed or mechanical sadhana cannot awaken such longing. I just read today, actually, in preparing for the class this morning, in one purport, Prabhupada says it's not by a mechanical process of chanting and hearing that one can become Krishna conscious. Yeah, you can become somewhat detached from the world, but it cannot be stayed or mechanical. It has to be heartfelt. Maharaj just mentions that. So increased enthusiasm. That's the particular type of sadhana which can give rise to a love. Yeah. Not just mechanical. So sometimes it's good when a devotee asks the question, how can I stop chanting mechanically? That's a wonderful question because it means they're now desiring not to chant mechanically. It's an evolution. To actually ask that question is like, well done. You're supposed to question. You're supposed to ask that type of question. You know, that's a good sign sometimes where it feels mechanical. You're chanting and there's no love, there's no affection, there's no attraction. I mean, we all had the experience where as soon as the 16 rounds are done, what was it Prabhupada said? Now I can do any damn thing I want. You put your beats down. And anyway, get the idea. So enthusiastic. And for that, we need association of devotees. Yeah. So then Maharaj mentions it may be true that bhava can be achieved by the special mercy of Krishna. Yeah. Without this. But that's that's extremely rare. Yeah. So Prabhupada mentions that's just like hope that one will receive an honorary degree from the university. So we really want to put in the effort. We don't just want to sit back and wait for a bolt of lightning of Krishna Prema to descend. We have to take up the activities which have been given to us by Rupa Goswami. Yeah. Now, then this subject is brought up, ways to attain Krishna's grace. Now, this Marge brings up what sometimes it can be it's a small controversy, I think. I haven't heard much of it lately, but so some devotees are of the opinion that this Suddha Sattva, this Krishna's mercy in the form of Suddha Sattva, you can only get it through a physically present Mahabhagavat. Yeah. That was a few years ago in our ISKCON society. We was being told by another Gaudiya society that you cannot get Krishna Prema unless you come to our Guru, who's a Mahabhagavat. That caused the whole, it was like quite controversial at the time. They were saying, our Guru is the Mahabhagavat. You got no chance, They say that without a realized soul, devotees cannot perfect their sadhana and therefore cannot attain bhava. But then Maharaj brings out from his studies of Prabhupada's books, and perhaps we should have also studied as well, that Prabhupada didn't specifically share this point of view. Yes, definitely we need the mercy of great souls. But then he also recites the direct mercy of Krishna and specifically the potency of the holy names in order to reach the spiritual platform. Of course, we have to be connected up to the disciplic succession through the principle of Diksha. Yeah, that's understood. And also the activities that we do has to be authorized, Shruti, Smriti, Purana Adi, yeah, by a bona fide guru and the Vaishnavas. Yeah, that is very clear. But Maharaj brings out that this grace is not just restricted to physical presence. And he brings up different ways that this love or this bhava can manifest. And specifically, Prabhupada says, this is quoting from Nectar of Devotion, that chanting of Hari, that offenseless chanting. Yeah, please note that whenever Prabhupada says about chanting and the effects it has, the miraculous effects it has, he always means offenseless chanting. Sometimes he will put that and sometimes not, but we should understand whenever it's spoken, like, for example, simply by chanting the holy name, one becomes to the stage of love of Godhead and chants and dances without the care. And that means offenseless chanting. But he says, the point of making that the chanting of offenseless chanting of Hare Krishna and preaching in association of devotees, he says, I just quote directly here, in constant association with pure devotees. So these are the most potent paths of perfection. And then there's this quote from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is from a verse to a song called Agna Tahal. Okay, someone could read this for us? Any enthusiastic readers out there?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, may I read?
Please, yes, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Ways to attain Krishna's grace. Giving up all sinful activities. Carry on worldly duties only in relation to Lord Krishna. Show compassion to other souls and loudly chant the holy name of Krishna, the essential forms of all religion. Purport. The essence of religion is to live purely, show mercy to all living beings, and chant the holy name of Krishna. Hare
And
Krishna.
yeah, thank you. And then it continues here. There wasn't enough room to put the whole quote, so I'll just read it here. So that continues. There is no difference whatsoever between Krishna's name and Krishna himself. By the mercy of the holy name, in a few days, your spiritual form, this is from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, will awaken and you will float in the ocean of eternally sweet Krishna prema. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions a few days. Then Krishna, in the form of his names, forms, qualities, and pastimes, will personally reveal himself to you. So he says, just by the chanting of the holy name. And this is something that Srila Prabhupada himself had great faith in. Prabhupada said many, many times, he kind of emphasized that the chanting of the holy name will give one all perfection. So Prabhupada had great faith in the potency of the holy name. And even Maharaj mentions here that set him apart from other Vaishnavas of the time. So we have this here from Makin Bhagavat Dharma. Prabhupada says, I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Yeah? So, and also Bhaktivinoda Thakur, also in his writings, he writes about the extraordinary potency of the holy name to bring us to perfection. And he wrote this wonderful description. This is from the Saranagati Nama Mahatmya, which we'll read through now. Now, some of you in our other presentations that we've done, we did a few classes on the holy name, the path towards love of God. And we quoted this. So some of you might be familiar with it, but it's so wonderful. I thought I put it on slides just before we opened up today. So I thought it'd be good to read it. So we need 4 devotees to read. Perhaps Alexander, you can begin.
Yes. How much power does the name of Krishna possess? How much power does the name of Krishna possess? My heart constantly burns in the fire of worldly desires, like a desert scorched by the sun. The holy name, entering my heart through the holes of my ears, showers unparalleled nectar on my soul. The holy name speaks from within my heart, moves on the tip of my tongue, and constantly dances on it in the form of transcendental sound. My throat becomes choked up, my body violently trembles, and my feet move uncontrollably.
Okay. Maharaj Kishore, you could read this. You're muted, Mother.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Rivers of tears flow from my eyes. Rivers of tears flow from my eyes. Perspiration pours from my body. My body thrills with rapture, causing my hair to stand on end and my skin to turn pale and discolored. My mind grows faint and I begin to experience devastation. My entire body is shattered in the flood of ecstasies. While causing such an ecstatic disturbance, the holy name showers liquid nectar on my heart and drowns me in the ocean of divine love of Godhead. He does not allow me to understand anything, for he has made me truly mad and has stolen away my heart and all my wealth.
Thank you. Perhaps we'll just have yourselves can read, or go back to Alexander, and then yourself again, Maharaj Kishore, after this. You still there, Alexander? You can read this.
Yes. Yeah, I am not capable of describing all this. Such is the behavior of he who is now my only shelter. I am not capable of describing all this. Krishna's holy name is independent and thus acts on his own sweet will. However, he becomes happy is also my happiness. The holy name is the bud of the flower of divine love, the above of devotion's wonderful mellows. Such is the power he manifests, that although he displays his power only slightly, he reveals his own divine form and qualities, and steals my heart and takes it to Krishna.
Then one more. Okay, Maharaj Kishore.
Krishna's holy name takes me to Vraj. Being fully manifest, Krishna's holy name takes me to Vraj and reveals to me his own love dalliance.
Valiance. Yeah.
Dalliance. He gives to me my own divine eternal body, keeps me near Krishna and completely destroys my mortal frame. Krishna's name is touchstone, a mine of all devotional mellows, eternally liberated and the embodiment of pure rasa. When all impediments to the pure chanting of the holy name are taken away and destroyed, then my happiness will know its true awakening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very beautiful, isn't it? Very wonderful description. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's japa. Good experiencing. So again, we're just highlighting this subject here, ways to obtain Krishna's grace. Again, some Vaishnavas may say that Suddha Sattva only through a present Mahabhagavat. But then Prabhupada, in his books, he describes different ways to obtain this grace, and specifically through the mercy of the holy name. Now, again, it doesn't mean we don't take the advantage of the association of devotees. As we mentioned, we still accept the principle of initiation, etc. But this mercy can come through the grace of the holy name. And here's a wonderful example that he gives of so some persons still may be skeptical, and I may ask, so whether in Srila Prabhupada's physical presence or in isolation from these other Vaishnavas or Mahabhagavats, right? Let's say they are, but whatever. Is there examples of devotees of ISKCON achieving perfection? Yeah. Have devotees realized or have any devotees achieved that which Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes or that he sings? has anyone in ISKCON or any ISKCON followers, by serving the mission, gone back to Godhead? Of course, we can say yes, with enthusiasm. But here's a very specific example. Now, this is Mother Ratna Ranjini. Now, she was, quote unquote, a ordinary devotee. She was the wife of a temple president in the north of England, Scotland specifically, and she had a terminal illness. She had brain cancer, and I remember she came down one time before she was too ill to travel. I remember when many years ago, she came down with her husband to the temple, Soho Street Temple, and now she was well known. She was only locally well known. She wasn't very well known even in Europe. She was well liked by the devotees, and she just kept the accounts. That was her service. She never went on book distribution. She never took second initiation. She like kept the accounts, and she gave guidance to other young ladies. Yeah, and as you can see in the pictures, then she raised 2 children. So she wasn't a big devotee. She took first initiation from Prabhupada, but she didn't take second. She was a steady devotee, yeah, but she wasn't someone who everyone would know or recognize. No one would pay obeisances to her. So she I remember when we met her, she kind of bore this disease, this brain cancer, with great dignity. And what unfolded in the months before she left, she confidentially revealed to her husband the unfolding of a specific spiritual identity. I remember when her husband, Balabhadra, was telling us about this. It was such, the way he was describing it was so wonderful. And specifically, because he was encouraging her. So what do you see? What is it that you're experiencing? So she described that she was a gopi in Nandagram. And she disclosed, then he was asking her more. Now, it wouldn't come all the time, but he was with her. And then when he got the opportunity, he would ask her. She began to disclose that that she was rendering service to Krishna in Vrindavan. And her favorite being to pack Krishna's lunch. And I remember Balabhadra was asking her, "Oh, so you pack Krishna's lunch?" She said, "No. I actually help. I don't do it. I actually help someone to pack his lunch." And she was giving other details as well, quite some details. At one time, she said that there was a young children who was playing with a ball, and the husband asked her, "Oh, what color is the ball?" And she said, "Oh, it's multicolored like a rainbow." Anyway, you get the idea. So she had no access to at least on the physical plane, she had no access to a Mahabhagavat. But she always prayed to Krishna, and she was awarded perfection. And the circumstances of her leaving and other things that were happening at the time, devotees can tell you about. Now that all is, it's all in this book here. This is a book, Simple for the Simple, which is about that whole journey of her being sick, and then her being diagnosed with a terminal illness, and then taking care of her. She was having really violent seizures and fits by due of the pressure of this tumor in her brain. Some of it's quite intense to read. But she never complained. And then at a closing
We can hear you, Prabhu.
Huh? Sorry?
Can't hear you at times.
I'm coming in and coming out, yeah? All right. Hopefully you got the essence of it. Someone could repeat back what I just said, or the essence of the story? No?
You don't have
The last 20, 30 seconds, 20 seconds.
Oh, Krishna, just a whole dramatic story. That's the drawback of being online, you know. Right. Can you hear me now?
yeah.
Quick, let me go. Ascribing, I have to put it in yeah, this is Ratnaranjini. She had brain tumor. You can hear me still?
Yeah, we heard all that, only the last little bit.
Okay, the last little bit. Well, she achieved perfection, basically. She was fully absorbed in her specific relationship with Krishna as a young girl in Raj, you know. And there was no Mahabhagavad around, you know, at least not on the physical plane. Yeah. She played to Prabhupada, yeah, etc. So there's Maharaj brings this out, this proof of this principle of attaining ways to attain Krishna's grace through the grace of service to the Sankirtan mission, etc., you know, and chanting of the holy name. Now we got 4 minutes left. Any questions or comments? Now this book, Simple for the Simple, I looked on Amazon and it's no longer available on Amazon. It's a bit of a collector's item. I mean, I've got it here. If anyone living in London wants to borrow it. Jay, Ved?
No, it's not about this book. It was a question. So sorry, finish what you were saying.
No,
And
it's
then
okay. No, I'll finish. Go ahead.
my question is relating to the slide that you showed on this love naturally awakens. So it's very odd that today I wanted to ask that to someone because I have a sister and she's very early days. She doesn't chant that much. And I was thinking, and we read Bhagavad Gita together with another person, so 3 of us. And neither of them do that much chanting. And I was thinking that I've been reading Bhagavad Gita with them for a few weeks, and I've been mentioning to them about chanting. But how can I awaken that love in them so that they would chant? But according to your slide, it says that maybe it will awaken naturally, and I don't need to worry too much.
Well, in one sense, yes. You just have to keep on having those Bhagavad Gita readings, you know, and hopefully they become attracted. That's the idea, is that hopefully they can feel some type of transformation in their consciousness when they engage in these readings. So it's a very simple thing to do. You just sit down and you read Bhagavad Gita together with another devotee.
Yes.
Hopefully they're experiencing some shelter.
They do look forward to reading now. I find that. So
that's it. That's your success. The fact that they look forward to the reading means it's successful.
But so the chanting will come automatically in them, will it? Or
yeah, well, let's see and hope it would take your guidance, it take your loving patience and your loving guidance and very specific way that you might encourage them. If you try to encourage them too quickly, oh, you have to chant 16 rounds and you might frighten them away. So just keep on creating stability and atmosphere, because at the same time you cannot, there's that saying that you can take a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. So you have to be a little bit patient. Also a sense of detachment as well. You may do everything you can to encourage them to go forward and take up the principles of bhakti. But no matter what you do, then they might not do. So you have to be a little bit of detachment as well, a little bit of patience as well. But just keep on doing what you're doing, and that's it. And that's the only thing you can do. You can invite them to temples sometimes. You can give them prashadam. You can introduce them to how to offer prashadam very simply, a picture at home to Krishna. There's some things you can do like that to kind of show them the culture of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So just keep doing what you're doing. And hopefully they want to find out more and more. You know? So their chance is your association. Yeah. Yeah, so
I was
just
thinking maybe I need to be reading Krishna book or something so that they hear the stories of Krishna and fall in love with Krishna and then
yeah, that's the idea. But first, Bhagavad Gita is a good place to start.
Yes.
And Krishna book's also nice. It's kind of quite wonderful, simple portrayal of Krishna's Leela and pastimes. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well done. And you'll get special mercy as well for preaching or teaching them Krishna consciousness. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother. So again, this book, Simple for the Simple, you might find it. It's called, her name's Ratna Ranjini. So you might find it somewhere up there. But thank you everyone for your joining us for this session number 18. We finished. Let me see what we're going to do next week here. This is chapter 10. We're going to go through this next week. What kind of regulative devotion? Because regulative devotion can take you to Vaikuntha, but we want to go to Goloka. So we'll discuss that. What is the mood of regulative devotion? The purpose of all the regulations, how one can always think of Krishna, 5 main items of devotion, more about chanting, and also about worshipping the Lord in his deity form. Okay? Okay, so thank you everyone. And yeah, please join us next week. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank
you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Gaura Premanande, Hare